Hello everyone, my name is Wang, and together with my teammate Wu, we will be presenting our topic is cultural diversity and people in complex projects. We will explore how cultural diversity shape project outcomes and using two real-world cases, Target's failure in Canada and McDonald's success in India. When we think about complex projects, we usually imagine advanced technology, large budget, or tight schedule. But there is another dimension that is often overlooked. It's culture. Culture shapes how people see the world, how they make decisions, and how they build trust. It's like the invisible operating system behind every project team. When cultural differences are ignored, projects can quickly become unpredictable and even collapse. A striking example is the Target expansion into Canada, which ended in failure and cost the company almost 5 billion Canadian dollars in just 2 years. Before expanding this case, I would like to introduce three cultural frameworks that help us to understand how diversity creates complexity. The first is Hall's model of high and low contact cultures. In high contact cultures, people rely a lot on relationships, shared history, and nonverbal communication. But in low contact cultures, communication is much more direct and clear. So, when a project brings people from both types of culture together, misunderstanding can easily happen because the same word might mean very different things. This makes project management more complex, as leaders need to make sure their messages are correct, understand across the different cultures. The second is half-state cultural dimensions. Three dimensions are especially relevant here. Power distance, which shows whether people accept authority or expect equality. Individualism versus collectivism, which tell us whether people value independence or teamwork. And uncertainty avoidance, which describe how comfortable people are with risk and ambiguity. If a project manager assumes everyone thinks the same way, they can lead to conflict. For example, a centralist style of management might work well in high power distant cultures, but could actually reduce motivation in low power distance ones. Finally, the Trompanel's model, especially universalism versus particularism. Universalism means using the same rules everywhere. It brings efficiency and consistency. Particularism, on the other hand, means adapting to local customs and values. It brings flexibility and legitimacy. In international projects, balancing these two approaches is always challenging, but that balance is what makes cultural diversity such an interesting and complex part of global teamwork. Now let's apply this idea to the Target case. In 2013, Target opened 133 stores across Canada. Just 2 years later, in 2015, all stores were closed and the company withdrew from the market, leaving behind a loss of nearly 5 billion Canadian dollars. So why did Target fail? The first issue was language and culture. In Quebec, about 80% of people speak French as their first language. Their language isn't just for the communication, it's part of their cultural identity. Canadian law actually recognizes both English and French as an official language, but Target mainly used English in the advertising, even in Quebec. People didn't just see that as bad translation, They saw it as disrespectful to the culture. So right from the start, Target failed to connect with the local customers. The second problem was the management culture. Target decisions mostly came from the US headquarters in a very top-down way. But in Canada, people generally prefer a more equal working relationship, what the Hofstede called lower power distance. Canadian employees expected more autonomy and more consultation. When that didn't happen, they felt ignored and frustrated. This mismatch between the leadership style and cultural expectation made things even more complicated. Finally, there were customer expectations. Prices in the Canada were about 20 to 30% higher than in the US, which upset customers who cared a lot about fairness and value. From Trumpnell's perspective, Target followed a universalist approach, basically copying their American model everywhere, instead of adapting to the local context. In countries like Canada, where people value fairness and localization, this approach just didn't work. If we look at this through a complexity lens, we can see that different stakeholders have completely different goals. The US headquarters focus on the efficiency. Canadian customers care about the fairness. Quebec community valued the cultural respect, and the local employee wanted more autonomy. In short, everyone had their own definition of success. This lack of alignment made outcome unpredictable. Every time Target fixed one problem, another one propped up someone else. In the end, the result was totally failed. Target collapse clearly showed that when cultural diversity is ignored, complexity increases, risks go, and the whole project eventually becomes unsustainable. So what's the big takeaway here? Culture isn't something you deal with later, it's at the very heart of the managing to complete the project. Many companies fail because they try to copy-paste one approach everywhere, but others succeed by understanding and adapting to the local cultures. And that's exactly what my teammate will show next, with the example of the McDonald's in India.
Thanks to Ziyan for the outstanding presentation. My focus is on McDonald's in India, a remarkable case of cultural adaptation and management success. When McDonald's entered India, it faced strong cultural and religious barriers. Beef and pork were strictly prohibited due to Hindu and Muslim dietary beliefs. Instead of imposing its Western menu, McDonald's made a bold decision to redesign its products and communication strategies for Indian consumers. As Shaw and Wang 2022 highlight, cultural adaptation in global advertising and branding requires more than simple translation. It demands a deep understanding of local values, beliefs, and social taboos that shape consumer behavior. Therefore, McDonald's redefined itself not as a Western fast food chain, but as a family-friendly, locally connected brand. So the key question for our analysis is, why did McDonald's succeed in India while so many Western brands failed? McDonald's success can be explained through two main cultural models: Hofstede's cultural dimensions and Trumpeter's cross-cultural framework. According to Hofstede, Indians scores high in uncertainty avoidance. People prefer clear rules and structure. McDonald's addressed this perfectly by separating vegetarian and non-vegetarian kitchens and using color-coded packaging, green for vegetarian, red for non-vegetarian. This gave customers a strong sense of trust and comfort. From Champagner's perspective, Indian is a particularist culture, meaning people value specific relationships and religious customs over universal rules. McDonald's adapted according by respecting Hindu, Muslim, and Jain dietary laws, and even celebrating Indian festivals through localized advertisements. As John et 2016 note, this adaptation led to what they call cultural convergence, a point where global and local values meet. McDonald's in India became not just a restaurant, but a symbol of modern equality and inclusiveness. Everyone, regardless of social class, could sit together and enjoy the same food in a clean, safe space. McDonald's success in India also reflects strong cross-cultural management strategies. The process can be divided into three interrelated stages: initiation, execution, and leadership. To begin with, in the initiation stage, McDonald's carried out cultural audits to understand local beliefs and practices. They also provided cross-cultural training for employees to develop respect and sensitivity toward diverse values. Following this, during the execution stage, the company implemented adaptive communication, team building, and conflict management strategies. These actions helped maintain harmony and trust within multicultural teams. Finally, in the leadership stage, McDonald's moved away from rigid, top-down management. Instead, it promoted shared and servant leadership, empowering local managers to make culturally appropriate decisions and lead with empathy. John et al. 2016 emphasized that McDonald's achieved a balance between global consistency and local authenticity through this structure. Franchisees were encouraged to reflect McDonald's global brand values, but were also given flexibility to innovate locally. This model demonstrates that cross-cultural management is not about choosing between globalization and localization, but about integrating the two. Think global, act local. Through our comparative analysis of Target's failure and McDonald's success, we learned that cultural differences are not peripheral issues, but core determinants of project outcomes. Ignoring them leads to misalignment, misunderstanding, and ultimately failure. Respecting them, on the other hand, creates trust, cooperation, and long-term success. As Xiao and Wang 2022 explain, effective intercultural communication must align brand messages with collective emotions such as family, community, and trust. McDonald's advertisements in India focused not on fast food, but on togetherness, celebrating local festivals and family values. This emotional connection transformed McDonald's from a foreign brand into part of Indian society. In John et al. 2016 framework, this process is described as cultural convergence, the blending of global and local values. McDonald's didn't erase cultural differences, it embraced them. This case shows that diversity, when managed properly, becomes a strategic asset rather than an obstacle. In conclusion, the McDonald's case demonstrates that culture and diversity are not barriers, they are drivers of success. While Target failed in Canada by ignoring local expectations, McDonald's succeeded in India by respecting cultural differences and integrating them into every aspect of its strategy. Based on Hofstede's and Trampina's frameworks, we can confidently see that effective cross-cultural management combines global vision with local empathy. Ultimately, project management is not just about resources or timelines. It's about people, communication, and culture. So our final message is simple yet powerful. Culture matters. Finally, here's our list of references. Thank you for listening.